A Property Tax Guide. Chapter 1. Limit your property taxes. Lower property taxes. 1. The easiest way to save on property taxes is to live in a low-class or rural area. There are basically several ways you could be able to lower property taxes. Firstly, if you're low income, a senior, vet or disabled, you might be entitled to special breaks on your property taxes. Call the office and ask them about it. When you get your property tax assessment, you should get a form with it to contest the size of your tax bill. Your local government sends out notices of assessments either every year or every few years to review assessments. When you get that notice, you have the right to appeal the assessment, but there's usually a deadline of about 60 to 90 days. The good thing is that most people never bother to contest their assessments, so it's worth a shot to do it. There are professional tax consultants in the Yellow Pages who will work to get a reduction for you at a fee of 50% of any savings they find. These guys usually work for commercial property owners where the savings could be substantial, unlike your potential small savings, so if you live in a small house, it might be just as well to go it alone. Your local tax office computes your annual property tax bill by multiplying the local tax rate by the assessor's estimate of what your home and the lot it sits on are worth. The rate is set by your community's elected officials and applies equally to everyone. However, if you pay substantially more than your neighbors do, or if your locality hasn't had a general property revaluation in several years, your tax assessment may be too high. The property tax rate is basically a formula of multiplying your home's assessed value by a multiplier of the local tax rate. This multiplier is made up of itemized features. There could be a mistake in there, like the square footage of your house, number of bathrooms listed, etc. It's minor but could mean something if there's an overstated error there. Clerks make mistakes on these forms. It's up to you to correct them. If they don't send you an itemized notice, ask for a copy from your file. The most basic errors arise from a simple misdescription of your property in the municipal records, and this is where you should look first if you suspect a problem. The listing should specify the lot size, type of construction, number of rooms and so forth. Overworked assessors usually cannot inspect every property they are required to value. Often they rely on casual drive-by assessments, leading to mistakes in the property records: an extra bedroom here, a bath there, a garage instead of a carport. The assessor may also have missed defects such as a cracked foundation, a leaky roof or pest infestation that could significantly reduce a home's value. Undesirable environmental conditions such as unusually heavy local traffic from a nearby freeway can also lower a property's value and may be grounds for a tax reduction. The assessed value should never be greater than the cost or real worth of the house. It should always be less. In places like California, where real estate values have been steadily declining, the assessed value has remained constant, but many people don't know that they have the option to fight it. If you live in any area of declining real estate values, you could make a good case for a reduction. Real estate values decline for any of a number of reasons, like an army base closing, major company closing, factory opening up nearby, new interstate nearby, lots of commercial development, depressed economy, people moving away, etc. Most municipalities try to peg the assessed values of properties in their jurisdictions to the actual market values. However, unless the properties are reappraised often, something few communities do, the valuations tend to drift apart. Some states try to bridge the difference during periods between full-scale reevaluations by applying a so-called assessment ratio. In one New Jersey city, for example, a home carried on the tax rolls as having a market value of $100,000 would be taxed as if it were worth $106,952. Currently 93.5% is applied. A homeowner who thinks this figure overstates the market value can challenge it, although in the Garden State, unless an assessment exceeds the estimated market value by more than 15%, the assessor's computation will prevail. Simple things to do are to check your local newspaper for the asking price of comparable houses in your neighborhood. Next, ask your county assessor's office if they publish a list of assessments for neighborhoods. If they do, get it. Find 5 homes that look about the same square footage as yours and compare assessments. Some counties actually publish this list in the local newspaper during the time they mail out notices of assessments. Barring that, you will have to first pick out 5 homes in your neighborhood that compare roughly with yours and either go to the assessor's office or write them a letter stating that you would like the assessed property values of these houses for comparison purposes. These are public records and you are entitled to look them over. Another technique is to go to the county deeds office and ask to look at the deeds of all houses that have sold in your neighborhood in the recent past. Or you could call a few real estate agents and ask what the current going price is for a home like yours. There is an exemption list which covers things like seniors, low-income people, long-time residents, and even a homeowner exemption if you live in your own home rather than using it as a rental investment. Beyond that, property taxes are used to pay for civic services such as garbage pickup, flood control, street cleaning, public schools, etc. If you're not using any of these services, include that in your appeal. For example, if you don't have kids or a car, then you're not using the schools or the street cleaning service, so put that in your letter. There are several ways to document a claim that your assessment is too high. The easiest is to point out obvious discrepancies between the description of your home in the official tax records and its actual condition. Often the assessor's office will adjust your record on the basis of a single meeting if you can produce compelling evidence that the assessment is incorrect. You can also buttress your claim by tracking recent sales of 3 to 5 homes that are similar to yours and located nearby. A local realtor, Consumer Reports Home Price Service, or even the assessor's own records can help identify these comparable properties. If the potential savings warrant the expense, you may wish to hire an appraiser who is certified or licensed by your state to prepare a customized valuation of your home. Expect to pay between $400 and $500 for this service. Get everything together and write up a letter with supporting documents. Send it to the assessor's office. They might offer you a reduction based on that. If not, you can take it to a hearing at the county appeals board. To strengthen your argument, you might consider getting a professional appraisal done at about $200. You go in physically and present your case. If you lose, you can still appeal to the state appeals board or the tax court, whichever is relevant in your state. A formal appeal usually requires a hearing before the local appraisal review board. Typically, you will have to pay all taxes due while your appeal is pending, though some municipalities will give a refund if you win your claim. Daunting as it sounds, most homeowners can manage an appeal by themselves. If you don't want to go it alone, a local real estate agent may be able to refer you to a property tax consultant or an experienced attorney. If too many owners challenge their tax bills successfully, of course, a local government would have to ratchet up the tax rate to provide the services residents say they want. But that's a fair way to meet the community's needs and one that lets the citizens determine what good government truly costs. Lower property taxes too. Follow these steps. Step 1. Educate yourself. When it comes to property taxes, timing is everything. First, call the assessor's office to find out the 2 crucial tax dates for your community. The first is called Assessment or Valuation Day. It's when the information the assessor has on your home becomes the basis for assessing its value. The second is called the Tentative Roll Date. This is when the town tentatively sets the actual tax amount individual homeowners will pay. Start working on your appeal between those 2 dates. Most states require that you be notified after the tentative roll is set if there is a change in the market value, assessed value, or tax rate of your home. Although the notice includes a deadline for filing an appeal, often the date doesn't leave enough time to gather and submit the information, forms and proof needed to make your case. Miss the deadline and you forfeit your right to appeal until next year. Give yourself more time by beginning to check the information used to determine your assessment before the tentative assessment roll is set. While you're checking on the exact dates with the assessor, make an appointment to review the property record card for your home. It includes lot and house size, the number of rooms and everything else used to compute the assessment of your home. You will probably have to dig out an old bill to get your home's identification number for the assessor, then visit the assessor's office to copy the card for your records. While there, find out the guidelines for challenging your assessment and what constitutes proof. The assessor might also have brochures to help you through the process. Some states even have advocates who help you prepare and file your appeal. Step 2. Look for mistakes. Take the property record card home and carefully examine it for mistakes. Look for glaring errors such as the wrong number of rooms, a listing for a garage when you don't have one, and dimensions for a lot larger than the one you own. Call the assessor's office immediately if you find any mistakes. In some locales, your word alone might be enough, but most municipalities require proof photos, blueprints or inspection reports. Ask the assessor what's needed. Although the information on your property card should be accurate and current, correcting a mistake won't always reduce your assessment. If the error doesn't change your home's market value much, it won't affect your assessment. What if the error is in your favor? Experts say you should probably admit it, especially if you plan to challenge the assessment on other grounds. Your property record card should also list any exemptions you're entitled to. Exemptions lower the assessed value of your home by a certain percentage. Common ones are those for senior citizens and veterans or spouses of veterans. Less common exemptions include those for low-income homeowners, disabled victims of crime, and those whose property is located in an economic improvement zone. Exemptions for energy efficiency improvements, restoration of historic structures, and improvements that make a home more accessible to the disabled usually exempt only the value of the improvement from the assessed value of a home. Check with local and state authorities to find out available exemptions in your area. Step 3. Challenge your assessment. If your property record card is correct, or if correcting it has not changed your assessment, there still are two other grounds for appeal: excessive assessment and unequal assessment. Excessive assessment simply means your home is worth less than its assessed value. If you refinanced your mortgage within the past year, your bank or lender will have had your property professionally appraised. Get a copy of the report and see if this recent market value is lower than the one set by the assessor's office. If it is, use the report as proof. If you haven't refinanced recently, check with local realtors for the addresses and selling prices of similar homes in your area. The assessor's office can also help you locate comparable homes, or you can pinpoint recent sales using a phone-in search service. These firms typically charge by the minute for phone time. Remember, the more evidence you gather, the better. Having your home reappraised is the most expensive option, though it's often the most effective. The word of a licensed appraiser will have more weight than other types of information. Professional appraisals typically cost $100 to $400, but unless you expect to reap large gains, a reappraisal might not be worthwhile. It's also possible that the value of your home has been decreased by conditions the assessor's office isn't aware of or has not considered. A cracked foundation, termite or carpenter ant infestation, the building or widening of a road next to your home, or the placement of a new factory or dump nearby can all lower property values. So can environmental hazards such as radon, asbestos, or lead in your home, or a buried oil tank in your yard or driveway, but you will have to prove it, and environmental hazards are trickier to prove than other conditions, since their effect on value isn't well documented. Again, local realtors can help you by revealing how home sales have been affected by these problems. Realtors can also provide information on cleanup cost. This is an effective way to determine how much each condition lowers the value of your home, since most buyers would want the problem remedied or the asking price reduced by that amount. Get addresses and information on asking and selling prices in writing. Unequal assessment means your home has been assessed at a higher value than comparable homes in the area. For example, suppose the value of your house has been assessed at $200,000. If you can prove the value of a similar home in your neighborhood has been assessed at $175,000, you can challenge your assessment on the basis of unequal assessment and have the assessed value of your home reduced. Step 4. Informal meetings. Think of the appeal process as a ladder. The first rung is requesting an appointment with an assessor. No forms. No costs. No sworn testimony, but don't be lulled into thinking this informal meeting is a simple chat where you point out errors and the assessor fixes them. Be prepared to prove your case. You should know what you want and why you're entitled to get it, and you should have all your evidence with you, including an extra copy for the assessor to examine while you talk. Pay particular attention to the questions assessors ask. They're clues to what he or she thinks is important. Be calm, yet firm and persistent. Remember, what you're challenging is your assessment, not your taxes. Start proclaiming that your taxes are too high and you will lose credibility. Depending on the laws in your area, your assessor might not be able to change much at an informal meeting. If you get only some or none of what you ask for at this time, find out why. This is the part of your case you need to strengthen when you move up the ladder to a formal meeting. Step 5. Formal appeals. Formal appeals are not automatic. You must request one, get the proper forms, follow their directions to the letter and submit the forms and evidence by the deadline given. Your local or state authorities probably have pamphlets to help you fill out the paperwork. They might even have staff or advocates who can help. Another good source to check at this stage is the case files of your local board of review where your formal appeal begins. These records are public. Examine cases similar to your own to learn which strategies and evidence worked and which didn't as you prepare. Most important, be careful what you ask for. In some states, you can only get the reduction you ask for even if circumstances show you should get more. Your first formal appeal essentially is a hearing at which you present your evidence and the assessor also gives testimony. Again, it's up to you to prove that the assessor is wrong. Also remember that your case is probably one of many the board will hear. Make it stand out by being well presented, well organized, and mercifully to the point. The board's decision will be mailed to you. Even if your first formal appeal is successful, you will probably have to pay your taxes and then get a refund. And there might be some nominal costs for processing your paperwork. If you're not satisfied with the decision by the board, you might be able to appeal to a county or state board depending on laws in your area. There will be new forms to fill out and deadlines to meet and, possibly, more costs involved. But for all practical purposes, it's the same show for a different audience. Before you take your show on the road, read the decision from your local board and make a photocopy of your case file. Why didn't you win? What points didn't you make during the appeal? Why wasn't the board convinced? Learn from your mistakes and capitalize on any the assessor made, then be sure you really have something to add that will convince the county or state board that the local board and assessor's office are wrong. If you lose this second formal appeal, you can still take your case to court, but at that point you will probably want to get yourself some legal help. Challenging your property assessment is not without potential downsides. There's a chance the information that you uncover during the appeal process will result in raising your assessment, which will increase your taxes. Your local assessor's office can tell you this before you undertake the appeal, but in many cases, attempting to slash your property taxes is virtually a no-risk opportunity, and those are the best kinds. Finally, some mortgages carry a built-in clause where you pay the property tax to the mortgage company. Check to see that they don't overcharge you there. Property tax deferrals. If you're a senior, a low-income person, or just a person in need, some municipal tax offices and some state governments have programs to help you out with property taxes. Some even have a property tax deferral program where taxes are deferred while you're alive, only to be collected on the settlement of your estate at death. Contact your local tax office and government seniors office for more information. Eliminate property taxes forever. Change your attitude, buy a houseboat or a cabin cruiser, moor it to a wharf for $80 a month and live on the water with no taxes. Check out boating magazines or your local newspaper for more information. Sometimes people buy boats like cabin cruisers and yachts, put them in dry dock for the winter and abandon them for any of a variety of reasons. You could ask about old boats at the local wharves if you live near water, or ask yacht and boating clubs if there are any old, neglected boats around in semi-permanent dry dock. You could place an ad in your local newspaper asking to buy an old cabin cruiser or yacht for salvage. You buy it for a song and fix it up for a home without ever intending to sell it much anymore. Or you could fix it up good, fill it up with water, check for holes, patch them and undercoat the whole thing. Beware of hurricanes though. If you're really cool, buy a houseboat, sail it up the Mississippi in the summer across the Great Lakes then down to New Orleans in the winter. If you're really poor and your uncle owns an old piece of land somewhere, buy an old cabin cruiser, pay some guy to haul it out the country for you, prop it up against some trees, cut a hole in it with a chainsaw, put a wood stove in it, now you can live like a king in your very own cave for almost nothing. Another way is to form a non-profit corporation like a church or a charity and sign your house over to it. Non-profit corporations don't pay property taxes. Sign over the title of your home to your non-profit organization. You can form your own church or organization and apply for tax-exempt status at your county courthouse. Or, you can sign over the title of your home to your local church or other non-profit organization if you do not will it to go to your heirs. Under this arrangement, you retain lifetime habitation rights although the property belongs to the local non-profit organization. Finally, a third way is to buy an RV and live wherever you want without paying property taxes. Property tax websites: calproptax.com, California. taxadmin.org, click link for links to state tax forms. toscomp.com. International Association of Assessing Officers. 130 East Randolph St. 850. Chicago, Illinois 60601. 312-819-6100. IAAO.org. Booklet, Understanding Your Assessment. National Taxpayers Union. 108 North Alfred St. Alexandria, Virginia 22314. 800 Tax Halt. NTU.org. Booklet, How to Fight Property Taxes, A Homeowner's Guide to Appealing an Unfair Tax Assessment. State Tax Assessment Offices. people.virginia.edu/dev-pros/realestate.html, Property Assessment Databases. These offices mainly deal with property taxes. State of Alabama. Department of Revenue. Ad valorem Tax Division. Montgomery, Alabama 36132-7210. 205-242-1525. State of Alaska. Department of Revenue. Petroleum Revenue Division. 550 W 7th Ave No. 300. Anchorage, Alaska 99501. 907-276-2678. Arizona Department of Revenue. Division of Property Valuation. 1600 West Monroe St. Phoenix, Arizona 85038. 602-542-3529. Arkansas Assessment Coordination Div. Public Service Commission. 1614 W 3rd. Little Rock, Arkansas 72201. 501-334-9240. California State Board of Equalization. Department of Property Taxes. Assessment Standards Division. 1719 24th St. P.O. Box 942879, Sacramento, California 94279-0001. 916-445-4982. Colorado Division of Property Taxation. 1313 Sherman St. Room 419. Denver, Colorado 80203. 303-866-2371. State of Connecticut. Office of Policy and Management. Intergovernmental Relations Divisions. 80 Washington St. Hartford, Connecticut 06106. 203-566-8070. Director of Revenue. Delaware Division of Revenue. Wilmington, Delaware 19801. 302-571-3315. Real Property Assessment. 300 Indiana Avenue. NW Room 2132. Washington, D.C. 20001. 202-727-6447. Florida Department of Revenue. Division of Ad Valorem Tax. Woodcrest Office Building. POB 3000. Tallahassee, Florida 32315. 904-488 3338. FloridaPropertyTax.com. Georgia Department of Revenue. Property Tax Division. 405 Trinity Washington Building. Atlanta, Georgia 30334. 404-656-4240. Hawaii. The state has no responsibility for property. Administrative responsibility for taxation of property is at the county level. State of Idaho. Department of Revenue and Taxation. State Tax Commission. Real and Personal Property Bureau. 700 West State St. POB 36. Boise, Idaho 83722. 208-334-7733. Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. 404 Staten Building. POB 19278. Springfield, Illinois 62794-9278. 217-782-6076. State of Indiana. State Board of Tax Commissioners. State Office Building Room 201. Indianapolis, Indiana 46204. 317-232-3761. Iowa Department of Revenue and Finance. Local Government Services Division. Hoover State Office Building. Des Moines, Iowa 50319. 515-281-4040. Kansas Department of Revenue. Division of Property Valuation. 526 Robert B. Docking State Office Building. Topeka, Kansas 66612-1585. 913-296-2365. Commonwealth of Kentucky. Department of Property Tax, Revenue Cabinet. 592 East Main Street. Frankfort, Kentucky 40620. 502-564-8338. Louisiana Tax Commission. Property Tax Division. 923 Executive Park Avenue. Number 12 POB 66788. Baton Rouge, Louisiana 70896. 504-925-7830. State Tax Assessor. Property Tax Division. Bureau of Taxation. Augusta, Maine 04330. 207-289-2011. State Department of Assessment and Taxation. 301 West Preston Street. Baltimore, Maryland 21201. 301-225-1184. Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Department of Revenue. Division of Local Services. Property Tax Bureau. 200 Portland Street. Boston, Massachusetts 02114-1715. 617-727-2300. State of Michigan. Department of Treasury. State Tax Commission. Treasury Building. Lansing, Michigan 48922. 517-373-0500. State of Minnesota. Department of Revenue. Local Government Services Division. Mail Station 3340. St. Paul, Minnesota 55146-3340. 612-296-2286. Property Tax Bureau. Mississippi State Tax Commission. POB 960. Jackson, Mississippi 39205-0960. 601-359-1076. State Tax Commission of Missouri. 621 East Capitol Avenue. epub 146. Jefferson City, Missouri 65102-0146. 314-751-2414. State of Nebraska, Department of Revenue. Property Tax Division. epub 94818. Lincoln, Nebraska 68509. 402-471-5960. Nevada Department of Taxation. Division of Assessment Standards. Capitol Complex. 1340 South Curry Street. Carson City, Nevada 89710-0003. State of New Hampshire. Department of Revenue Administration. 61 South Spring Street. epub 456. Concord, New Hampshire 03301. 603-271-2191. State of New Jersey. Division of Taxation. Department of the Treasury. Appraisal Section. 50 Barrack Street. Trenton, New Jersey 08646. 609-292-7974. State of New Mexico. Taxation and Revenue Department. Property Tax Division. epub 630. Santa Fe, New Mexico 87509-0630. 505-827-0700. State of New York. Executive Department. Division of Equalization and Assessment. 16 Sheridan Avenue. Albany, New York 12210-2714. 518-474-8821. North Carolina Department of Revenue. Property Tax. epub 871. Raleigh, North Carolina 27602. 919-733 7711. State of North Dakota. Office of State Tax Commissioner. State Capital. Bismarck, North Dakota 58505. 701-224 3127. State of Ohio. Department of Taxation. Tax Equalization Tax Division. State Office Tower. epub 530. Columbus, Ohio 43266-0030. 614-466-5744. Oklahoma Tax Commission. Ad valorem Tax Division. MC. Connors Building. 2501 North Lincoln Boulevard. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 73194. 405-521 3178. Oregon Department of Revenue. Property Tax Division. Revenue Building. 955 Center Street, NE. Salem, Oregon 97310. 503-378-3022. Pennsylvania. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has no power over the local or county assessment or collection of taxes on real property. The Commonwealth does not get involved except through the court system when a taxpayer pursues relief through the courts for an alleged overassessment. Supervisor of Tax Equalization. Department of Administration. 275 Westminster Mall. Providence, Rhode Island 02903. 401-277 2885. South Carolina Tax Commission. Property Division. epub 125. Columbia, South Carolina 29214. 803-737 4485. South Dakota Department of Revenue. Division of Property Taxes. 700 Governors Drive. Pierre, South Dakota 57501-2276. 605-773 3311. Division of Property Assessment. 505 B. Derrick No. 1400. Nashville, Tennessee 37243. 615-741 2837. State Board of Equalization. 505 Beat Eric, number 1600. Nashville, Tennessee 37243. 615-741 4883. The State of Texas. State Property Tax Board. 4301 West Bank Drive number 210. Austin, Texas 78746 6565. 512-329 7901. Utah State Tax Commission. Property Tax Division. Herbert M. Wells Building. 160 East 300 South. Salt Lake City, Utah 84134. 801-536297. State of Vermont. Department of Taxes. Division of Property Valuation and Review. 43 Randall Street. Waterbury, Vermont 05676. 802-241 3500. State of Virginia. Department of Taxation. Property Tax Division. POB 6L. Richmond, Virginia 23282. 804-367 8020. State of Washington. Department of Revenue. Property Tax Division. General Administration Building. Olympia, Washington 98504-0090. 206-753 5503. State of West Virginia. Department of Tax and Revenue. Property Tax Division. POB 2389. Charleston, West Virginia 25328. 304-348 3940. State of Wisconsin. Department of Revenue. Bureau of Property Tax. POB 8933. Madison, Wisconsin 53708. 608-266 1187. State of Wyoming. Department of Revenue and Taxation. Ad valorem Tax Division. 122 West Street. Cheyenne, Wyoming 82002. 307-777 7215.